Okay, hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about a very excellent book that I have read and I want to share with you due to, for me, that's a lot of experience that I lived reading this book, and I want to share with you the book that I'm reading right now. And is this selected poems wrote by Emily Dickinson. Okay, but first I want to talk about a bit of Emily Dickinson indeed. Emily Dickinson was an American poem, and I want to highlight, yes, she is considered as a very excellent and great poet of the American world of literature, and it is important to mention that she was considered as an eccentric due to she didn't like to go out. She always stayed in her room, and he used to write letters for her friendships due to she doesn't like to receive or give greet to people who arrive to her house. And it is important to mention that for people that live in that epoch, was strange because she never got married, and that was the most important thing to be a woman in that epoch. If you didn't marry it, you lost the idea of being a woman in that era. And this book, it is important to mention too that most of the poems that she wrote was printed with other name due to her family didn't accept that she wrote, due to they were a rich family, and they wanted that Emily uh, get married due to found more prestigious of that epoch. As I said, she wrote the poems, and one friend of her helped her to uh, present her poems to the world, and that friend was Thomas Wentworth Houston. And when she died, he helped to print all the copies and to found the book that we have today. Okay, this book is a recompilation about all the poems that Dickinson wrote in her life, and usually those poems talk about politics, critiques of that epoch, to women's life, to the church, to the society that in that epoch pretended that women have to live a different lifestyle, and she was very disagreed with that. Okay, some topics that the book talks about is about naturalism, realism, and some poems talk about romanticism, but it is complicated due to she was a lesbian woman in a very strong society, very chauvinism society, and it was strange that she could express her feelings and her thoughts due to that. And it is essential to mention that her sister-in-law was in a relationship with her, and they it they can't they couldn't express their feelings due to that. First, because her friend was married, and second, because they were family now. I'm going to read you a poem that was wrote of by her, and it's called A Moon and a Star, and it talks about impossible love, that they couldn't be together due to it's something that doesn't admit that they be in a relationship. And the poem is the number 240, and it says this: "Ah, moon and star, you are very far, but were no one. farther than you. Do you think I'd stop for a firmament or a cubit or so? I could borrow a bonnet of the lark, and a chamois silver boot, and a stirrup of antelope, and be with you tonight. But moon and star, so you're very far. There is one farther than you. He is more than a firmament for me, so I can never go. There is something that I want to share with you, and it's very important for me that you understand a bit of more the structure of this poem. So, A Moon and a Star by Emily Dickinson. Let me show you. It is a three stanza poem that is here 1, 2, and 3, and that is separated into with even 7 sets of lines here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And the first stanza contains 7 lines, and the second and third 5 lines. Okay, these lines do not follow a specific rhyme scheme, but there are examples of half and full rhythm in this text. It regards to the latter, and a reader can look to the endings of the line 1 and 2 and the first stanza of the word a star that is here and far that is here. The same pair of rhythm words appear in the last stanza in the lines 1 and 2 as well. Here, as you can see, star and far. The half rhythm is also known as slant or partial rhythm. It seems through the repetition of assonance or consonants. This means that either a vowel or consonant sound is used within one line or multiple line of verse. For example, here, moon, that is here, I'm going to put with other color, and you, that is here. Do you see? And this is in the first stanza. Okay, and we can see here with firmament, I'm going to put with other color, maybe green, and cubit, that is here. Later on the poem, a reader can find an example in the phrase more than a firmament, that is here. And from me, with the repetition of the M, that is the consonant sound. I'm going to highlight this. Okay, I'm going to tell you something more. That is the alliteration, the enhancement, the accumulation, and the stroke. The first alliteration occurs when words are used in succession, or at least appear close together, and they end with the same sound. For example, borrow and bonnet. That is here. Borrow and bonnet. And it in the first line of farther and firmament. That is here, farther. I'm going to highlight, and I'm going to highlight this again. The accumulation is a literary device that relates to a list of words or phrases that have similar, but it's not the same meaning, as you can see. And the apostrophe is an arrangement of words addressing someone who does not exist or is not present in the same point immediately. The exclamation "oh" or the exclamation, yes, is often used at the beginning of the phrase. Also, the person who is spoken to a thought, they can express like the feelings about that, how the person feel about the situation, and why she is speaking of the moon and the star, like a sort of a, a sort of exclamation about the sad situation that is happening to her. So that's all I thought. I hope you are learning a lot of that, and see you next time. Bye bye. Okay, this book, this poem talks about, as I said, very impossible love, but in my own opinion, I think it talks about the relationship between her sister-in-law and she, due to they couldn't be together. It doesn't matter if they weren't married or they were still alive, due to in that epoch, as I say, it was difficult to the relationship between lesbian women, and due to it was her her sister-in-law, the wife of her brother, and it was difficult to understand that type of relationship. And maybe they could be generated due to she was always in her room talking alone, writing alone by her poems or whatever it happened. And maybe it could be understandable, but in that epoch it was difficult to achieve. And for that reason, I think this is one of the little poems that she wrote that talks about love, and most of that is an impossible love. Do you understand that you want to be with that person, but you know that never ever in the life is going to be possible due to that, not for you but for society. Okay, something that it was very difficult for me and I doesn't like it too much is that this book was wrote. Okay, the poems was wrote before the book, but what happened when Emily Dickinson died? Her friend Thomas decided to print it the book, and they recopilate all her books, her poems, and he at the very when we are going to finish say that he is farther than me. I think is she is farther than me, but they decided to change the subject due to the society repercussions, and most of those poems had been changing due to that. And it is sad, and you cannot realize all the real situation that she experienced due to that. A thing that doesn't like me to the book is that this book was printed in 1890, and the language that they use at that epoch and this epoch is very difficult to understand for me, and I have to find other resources to understand a bit of what she's trying to say. And okay, but indeed the books, all the poems are very good, and I highly recommend it to you if you want to read these selected poems. And here I have other books. One is called, let me see, The Wind Began to Rock the Glass. This is the book, and most of those books has images that allow you to understand what the poem was about or is about. Yeah, and here you can find it. And other book is My Letter to the World and Other Poems, two wrote by Emily Dickinson, and here you are going to find the poems. All those books usually has images that make it easy for you to understand what the poetry is trying to say. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for watching, and I'm going to continue uploading videos for you. Bye bye.